Hey, I'm Wesley Herndon. This is my friend Joel Sneed. Great guy, and this is just an interview of Joel Sneed. Joel M. Sneed.
Yeah, I'm Joel M. Sneed. The M stands for middle. It's middle name. No, it stands for merit. And it's not that I have a lot of merit, but I was named for a Dr. Merit, Baptist preacher.
So, Joel, how old are you?
A week from today, I'll be 74.
74. So, what does that mean? What does that mean? What year were you born?
1947.
19.
Hey, how you like those numbers there? 47, 74.
Let's say. Did we plan that?
No, we didn't.
We didn't plan that.
No, we didn't. I just happened to think of it.
So, where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
Just about everywhere. I was born in Savannah, Georgia. My father was pastor of Bull Street Baptist Church down there at the time. Only lived there a few months before we left and went somewhere else. And I've lived all over. I was in 14 schools growing up, 7 states from Miami to Massachusetts. And so I've just lived all over. I finished up high school in East Point, Georgia, went to Georgia State University. And after the Army, I moved back to Georgia. So Georgia really is my home. I'm a Georgian.
You're Georgian. Sweet Southern peach, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's funny because my next question was, how did you end up here in Georgia? Because I know you've been all over the world.
Oh, we just ended up here. We had gone, my father was in civil service, and we had gone to Massachusetts. So my older brother, who usually got what he wanted because he was the firstborn, we moved up to Massachusetts so he could go to MIT. And by the time we got to up there to Massachusetts, he decided, no, not MIT. I want to go to Georgia Tech. So we were only up there a year, and we moved on down here so we get residency for him to go to Georgia Tech. And that was in 63.
63.
Mm-hmm. And I was in the middle of my sophomore year.
Middle of your sophomore year.
Yeah, we usually change schools in the middle of the years. I've had 1 or 2 years where I was in 3 schools.
Yeah, so well, when you were in high school, was it hard, moving all over the place and did
No.
you have any friends? I obviously you had friends, but
You're going to get me started here now. Because when I was halfway through the 2nd grade, we moved from Miami. We were living down there while my father was in Korea. And I can still remember us leaving there. And I'm looking out the back window of the car. I can still picture that in my mind's eye. I'm waving goodbye to my good buddy. And I sort of decided then, subconsciously probably, that I was not going to get attached to friends again if we were going to be moving around. And so what moving around did, it gave me the ability to make friends easily, but not to make real close friends. And I think in marriages, that has hurt me too. I'm on my 3rd marriage, finally, no more. Can't afford any more houses. Can't afford to give away another house.
Oh, golly. Do you remember his name? The buddy that you said bye to?
No. There's been so many places and so many friends along the way. I do not even remember his name.
Growing up, where were your favorite? Well, I'm sure you had things about every place you lived that you enjoyed, but do you have a favorite spot when you were growing up where you lived?
From when I was growing up?
Mm-hmm.
Probably Virginia. And Virginia, along with West Virginia, are my favorite places today.
Yeah. So now that you're in your older years, you don't look a day over 70, 72. What's your favorite hobby? Was there something that you had as a kid that has just grown and gone up into your older years, or is there something you picked up in just your older years that you enjoy? What's something you enjoy?
You talk about hobbies, I think of things like stamp collecting and coin collecting, which I did in my youth and on through high school, and I don't know where those collections ever ended. But if you mean outdoor activities and things, certainly caving
Caving.
It's been all about caving since I was in high school.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. There's still a lot to be said before we get there. So, what was I going to ask? How did you? I'll just go into the body of everything. How did you decide to join the Army? You said your dad was an Army chaplain in Korea. Did they have a lot of sway? And I know your siblings too. Did your siblings serve, or were you the only one of your siblings that served?
Yeah, there were two of us that did. But I don't know. Ever since I was pretty young, I had wanted to go in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was always that I wanted to go into the Navy.
Yeah.
And I almost got to go to Annapolis. Had a congressional appointment, had the SAT scores, but my high school scores just weren't high enough. So I had to live at home, go to school, went to Georgia State. All they had was Army ROTC. But let me tell you, I've always been thankful I went Army instead of Navy. I'd always heard, the slogan in the Navy, join the Navy and see the world. But what they mean is you join the Navy and you see the ports of the world. Really. So being in the Army, I had a wide variety of places to go and the time to do it, not just out on the ocean where I couldn't take leave and go visit somewhere on my own.
Where was your favorite/beautiful/ never? Give me your favorite and give me one place you'd never go again from your time in the Army.
Well, last one's easy. I do not know of a place that I would never go again. But my favorite was time in Germany. Mm-hmm. I love Germany. I love Alpine Europe. It is one of my favorite places. And I've been to 40-some countries.
Tell everybody where you learned to, I'm going to say this for my viewers, where you learned to shred the gnar, where you...
What?
I just wanted to see your face when I said that. Shred the gnar. That's just... No, tell everybody how you learned how to ski. Where was that?
Oh, to ski on the Zugspitze, Germany's highest mountain. I was about 23 or so, and when I was living over there, and I learned to ski there, and I got both into downhill skiing and cross country skiing, and but I've skied all over. I've skied the Alps, the Rockies, the Sierra Nevada, all up and down the Appalachians from Alabama to Vermont. About everywhere in between, different places.
Let me ask you this. Do you like the Appalachian Mountains or the Rocky Mountains better?
For skiing?
For skiing, for caving, for...
Well, they, the Rockies just don't have the caves that the Appalachians do. Mm-hmm. But for skiing, it's better in the Rockies. The snow is better, powdery and all. And particularly in the southeast where I've skied a lot, it's icy. And because of the trees, it's all closed in. You get wide open areas and ski slopes out west that I just love. It's just wonderful.
So when you decided to, I'm going to back up a little bit. When you decided to join the Army, how did your family react to that?
Oh, they were all for it.
All for it?
Yeah, no problem at all, yeah.
Good.
And my grandfather had been a Marine. My father was in the Army as an officer, and he was in chaplaincy. I was in Corps of Engineers. I had a brother that was in for a few years. My son has 33 years in now. He's in Tennessee National Guard. And his son, my grandson, had 8 years in the Army. And he's going to college now with the Army paying for it. And then he's going back in as an officer in the Air Force. I had a daughter that went in for a while. And so, yeah, we're a military family and proud of it.
What, did you say you served in Vietnam or Korea?
In Korea.
Korea, okay.
That's the closest I ever got to Vietnam. I tried to go there and they wouldn't let me. It was because of my specialty I had in the Army. They needed me somewhere else. They needed me preparing maps. I was a topographic engineer officer, preparing maps that were used there. And because I was part of the effort there is why I'm considered a Vietnam vet, not just a Vietnam era vet.
Gotcha.
There's a distinction there.
I wrote Korea in notes, which I was like, I think that's wrong.
And I was in Korea after after the war was over.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I remember you telling me a story one time of, was it a helicopter that had to drop a cargo trailer or something like that? I can't remember the story.
Yeah.
Was that in Korea?
That was in Korea. I was a battalion construction officer, and I was rebuilding, getting rid of the Quonset huts that were left over from the Korean War. We're getting rid of those and putting up nicer billets for the men. And they had prefabricated latrine units that would sit between two of the troop billets. They had to be perfectly placed and everything else. Everything is terraced over there because of the hills. There was no way I could use a crane to set those. It wouldn't work on the terrace below there or on the same terrace or on the one above. I would have dropped the crane if I'd tried lifting it there. The only way to do it was helicopter. And the Major General, the division commander, said, "No, you can't do it." He says, "It's not feasible, and I'm telling you, you can't do it." But my colonel stood behind me, and we went ahead and did it anyhow. Had a Chinook helicopters and bring these in one by one. And I was watching on binoculars from about a mile away where they were being lifted off of a field and brought over. And these things flew across these little thatched roofed huts. And the pilot has already told me, he said, "Look, if I start having a problem with this, I'm punching the button and it's going to fall right on those homes." So it was a pretty risky thing, but we got them set, just dead on, each one of them. There were half dozen of them. And so it made me look good. It made me look real bad.
What year was that?
That would have been in 75.
75. What was the greatest lesson that you learned in the Army?
Proper prior planning. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, what is the what are the 7 P's? Let everybody know what the 7 P's are.
Do you really want me to say that?
Yeah.
Yes, proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And that's learning that in the Army. You got to do it.
Because we know that no matter how much you plan for anything, it can still, it will never go your way.
And in battle, you've got your plan all worked out, all kinds of details, but as soon as the action begins, you throw that plan away. Things have changed.
That's great. So how did you get into mountaineering and caving? I mean, all your gear's on the wall behind you, but how did you get into mountaineering and caving?
It was when I was in high school, and we had a boys' Sunday school class, and we'd go out bowling, go see a movie, go play putt-putt golf, go egging, go rolling, whatever we did. And this one guy says, "Why don't we go caving sometime?" He'd just started going caving. 2 of us took him up on it. And we went. And I'd enjoyed it. Those other 2 ended up dropping out. And I've just always been into it. I just love it.
How old were you when that happened?
17.
17.
Just turned 17. Mm-hmm. And I've been to some commercial caves. I always wanted to go in a cave, and
yeah,
we've been in some of the commercial caves since I was about 13 or 14.
So that was in 1964.
That was in February '65 when
65.
I first started.
Gotcha. Wow. And that was here in Georgia, or where was that?
That was in Georgia, up in Dade County, Georgia. It was my first, what we call wild cave, as opposed to show cave or commercial.
Yeah. So explain how had that one experience set you up for what you do now? Like, what have you done in the field of caving and mountaineering?
Well, I've been to caves all over the U.S. And I believe it's 13 other countries in Europe, Asia, down in Mexico, and they're just every cave is just different. They're interesting. That first cave I went to, it was a very difficult cave. If it had been an easy cave and maybe vandalized or something, maybe I wouldn't have taken to it so well. But you know, I could see it as a challenge. It's a physical challenge, and when I wrote my memoirs, I kind of broke down what my caving history has been between just purely adventure seeking and then later on doing project caving, I was making discoveries, geology, archaeology, paleontology, and really making finds like that and studies, and so doing project caving and writing a lot about it, publishing, and that just got more exciting to me than just going and finding new caves anymore. But it's exciting, being the first person ever to go into a cave or go to some cave that's been in by a lot of people over the years, and you're the first one to find this particular room or a passage in there. One such cave over in North Alabama I came across, and it was what we call Virgin Cave, we thought. But then I found some unshod human footprints back in there that with charcoal from torch fragments, we got them dated, and it was 500 years ago. Somebody or persons were back in that part of the cave, exploring. So it really wasn't Virgin Cave, but it was exciting making that discovery.
So you might have been the first person to step in there.
Since then.
Since
Yeah.
that 500 years.
Mm-hmm.
So prior 500 years.
And we've had to protect that passage in that cave, make sure people don't go in and, accidentally or on purpose obliterate those footprints.
And they're just sitting there in the dirt?
Oh yeah, or in the mud. Mm-hmm.
In the mud. Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So through your caving expeditions and your adventures over the years, it kind of led you to Sharon. How did that happen? I love the story.
Oh yeah, well I was caving in West Virginia. It was a pretty cool morning, not real cold, but we're going up on the side of a mountain there and wind blowing and everything, and I had my favorite down vest on. And before we went in the cave, I was trying to take care of that, so I just set it over to the side there, and I wouldn't wear it in the cave. But when we came out, I picked up that vest, and I've always used a carbide light, which has an open flame on it. And the first thing I've always done all these decades of caving is to blow that flame out so I don't start the woods on fire or something. For some reason that day I didn't. And I set my helmet with that light with the flame on it down on the ground, and I laid my vest neatly on top. And after a couple of minutes I looked down there and the thing was smoking. And I had burned a big old hole in it. And so I tried to remember somebody that I knew that could sew and fix the thing for me. And I remember this woman that told me she sews. She went to our church, and I contacted her, and she's the one that fixed it. And that's how I got to meet her and know her, and we got married.
Wow. This is kind of a open-ended question, not very particular, but what makes you laugh? What makes you cry? And what makes you sing? So what's something that you don't have to think of it literally, you can think of it figuratively, but like just deep. What makes you laugh, what makes you cry, and what makes you sing?
A lot of things make me laugh. I love a good joke, particularly if it's a pun, surprisingly. And
the king, even though he looks like a grandpa, he's the king of dad jokes. Just to put that out there.
Was that dad jokes or bad jokes or both? Both. Okay. As far as crying, I can shed a tear real quick. I did several of them yesterday, Veterans Day. And you go back to while I was in the Army, I'm probably one of the most patriotic people you'll ever know. But that flag flying outside there now, and patriotic music, and that sort of thing, they can start the tears rolling down my cheeks. And laugh, cry, and what was the other one?
What makes you sing?
Sing. Oh, when I get a happiness. I'm all the time really have some tune on my mind and singing it. A lot of times praise music from church, or it might be a country song, or rock and roll music from back in the day. But yeah, I love to sing. And any number of things can set that off, I suppose. I met a guy at City Church, his name was Ronnie, and the first thing I thought about was Ronnie and the Daytonas and the song GTO. It's just an association thing,
yeah.
The
Yeah.
Association was a group that was singing in 1966.
I don't know them.
Yeah. They did one called Along Comes Mary.
Along Comes Mary.
That was the mother of the girl I was dating that year. Association. Yeah.
Association. I know you're a man of God and a man of faith, and it's probably one of my favorite characteristics about you, just because I admire that, and you're someone I look up to, and in that regard, and many others. But throughout your time in the Army, divorces, or being stuck in the bottom of a cave, how has God seen you through, helped you, shown Himself in your life, and slapped you across the face and said, "Joel, why aren't you following me, man?" How has God made an impact on your life?
Well, there's times like when I was going through a divorce that I didn't want, where it was a really trying experience, and He was there for me. There was, of course, most recently COVID, and there was many times where I've done something stupid underground, and maybe I should have died, but He was there. He wasn't ready for me to, and I made it through, and I can look back on things and say that I can see Him, feel Him, that He was right there with me all along, directing my paths, for a good outcome. I don't know what to say about that. It's just faith is just a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
I think that we need to rely on God. We see too often people want to rely on the government instead, and that's just wrong.
It's just wrong.
He's always come through for me.
That's just wrong. So as we're winding down here, just to bring it back up on a lighter note, if there's anything you could say to the younger generation, given your experiences in life, what would you say to people my age, people younger than me? I mean, we're 50 years apart from each other. What's something you would impart on us, if you could say something?
Well, the first thing, of course, is come to a personal relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and know what's in His Word and follow it. Beyond that, there's things like education. Get all the education that you can. Always have a thirst for learning. I say travel. Travel gets rid of prejudices. Travel brings to reality some fantasies you might have of some particular place or some particular people or something. And that can be, if you don't just go there to the big hotels in the big cities, and you get out with people. I have so many stories that I could tell about people I've met along the way in different countries, and things I've learned from them, and experiences I've had. Travel is just a wonderful thing, and I say that's part of a good education. I would say for somebody that's in college, you've got your major that you're studying, take some other courses too. Take a class in art appreciation or music appreciation, and they'll pay dividends down the line there, that just to enrich your life. But don't just sit around watching TV or playing on Facebook or anything like that. But get out and do stuff. Get involved. There's so much wonderful stuff in this world to see. I've always felt that in my life, God created for us so many wonderful things and places, and it would be rude of me not to see as many of those places as I can while I'm here. And I've seen a lot of places. I've done a lot of things. And I just live life to its fullest.